Hey friends, despite an overwhelming rejection by parents, a Virginia school board votes unanimously to introduce gender studies curriculum into elementary grades. That's coming up next on on Educated. Shoot.
Let's get educated. That's why we're here, to bring you the stories impacting K-12 classrooms and college campuses. It's time for a little education.
Hello, everyone. I'm a little confused today. David Fiorazo filling in for Katie Petrick. She's off for this week, but we do have a special co-host filling in, and that would be Dr. Jake Jacobs from Arizona. Jake, good to see you.
Dave, I am so excited to be on One Nation. Oops, wait, I got the wrong show. I got to get to plug my show.
Okay, that's One Nation with Dr. Jake. This is Educated, where we're streaming on Rumble, Facebook, Apple, Spotify. So hit us up on the chat. Now, I was confused about Worldview Matters. That's a show I do here at Freedom Project. And today's guest was host of Prophecy Pros, Todd Hampson. He's an illustrator and author, and we talked about let's be heavenly minded and earthly good as Christians, meaning we apply what we know from the Bible and impact our communities for Christ. Great podcast. You can go to worldviewmatters.tv, and we also have a brand new, in the last couple months, YouTube channel. You can check that out on YouTube. So thanks, guys. So back to Educated. That's what we're doing here today with Jake. I've got another one of those stories that makes you just shake your head. Down in Virginia, Governor Glenn Youngkin and Elon Musk are targeting Fairfax County Public Schools, highlighting a controversial plan to introduce gender studies, ready, Jake, in elementary schools. We've got a video. Before we get to that, your quick thoughts.
Sure, I'm not surprised. Fairfax County is one of the most woke left-wing counties, brainwashing counties in the country.
Yeah.
And what's amazing is just because President Trump and his team and the American people voted for change, this is going to be one state at a time. And that Virginia, those counties, it's right by Washington, D.C., the deep swamp. Not surprised at all.
So let's watch this story out of CBS in Virginia. We'll come right back and talk more about it.
I'm a mom of two in Fairfax County. This is my oldest. And my husband and I have a difficult decision to make this fall as he is approaching preschool age, and we are faced with the decision of whether or not we are going to put our child in public school system where Fairfax County has decided to move forward with instituting gender studies in elementary school. Despite having done a study group, a focus group in the community to see if parents even wanted this. And when parents said no, the board voted 16-0 and said we're moving forward anyways. This shows clearly that they see parents not as partners, but as an obstacle for their agenda. And I have a really hard time looking at him and going, here, I'm just going to give you over to people who do not want to partner with me in how you're going to be raised. School and education is a huge part of a child's life. And early childhood is supposed to be filled with exploration and creativity and fun, not debating issues that are for adults to handle. These kinds of topics should be introduced sensitively and by parents who are raising their children with their values, not with an ideology passed down from the top.
Well, Jake, whatever it takes for parents to say, no, okay, no public school, I'm pulling them out, we're going to homeschool. I don't know why it takes something like this, but at least this is one concerned mom who has every right to rethink her, putting her children in public schools, right?
That was one of the most articulate, clear-cut, common sense defense of humanity, defense of Genesis 1:27, God, that we're made in God's image, male and female. That lady, that young mother, she could be a spokesperson for literally 100 million parents across the United States. Absolutely refresh. And that's the key, by the way. Yes, we want Donald Trump to be dealing with federal funds from the Department of Education, stopping all the woke nonsense, gender studies nonsense. But that's not going to solve this problem, because this leftism is vicious. It's viciously Marxist. Remember, Karl Marx wanted parents out of the picture. He wanted the state to take over, and we need more parents like her standing up and speaking out, maybe getting involved with the ACLJ, the Alliance Defense Fund. Just so refreshing to see this. And yet, in spite of that, 16 school board members still voted to put that crap upon our children.
Yep, 16-0 in this leftist school district. Now, Governor Glenn Youngkin and Republican governors warn that elections have consequences. So he said Fairfax County has more people moving away than moving in, while the rest of Virginia has successfully reversed a decade of net out migration. Parents matter, and Fairfax continues to ignore them, thrusting radical ideology on parents and students while piling on high taxes and protecting criminals and other victims. He says Virginia is stronger than ever, and yet Fairfax County is running a $300 million deficit. And Fairfax citizens' vote matters, and it's time to change school boards and supervisory boards. Jake, your response to what he shared there?
Well, absolutely right. It is time to change them, and we've been talking about that at Freedom Project Media for many, many years. Yep. What's interesting right now is the swamp rats, the sewer rats in D.C. They are freaking out because now this is where the federal government's stepping in. Now we're states' rights, state autonomy, parents' sovereignty is above all, besides our sovereign Lord Jesus Christ. But here's the point: is he's shaking things so much up within the administrative bureaucratic state. That's why a lot of these bureaucrats are freaking out and leaving. And now, granted, 16-0, but the point is, if we can keep on shaking up the swamp, the sewer, maybe we can get it where the culture within the county can change, because Fairfax is one of the worst in the country.
Yeah. And by the way, this is go back to the November election. This was an 80-20 win for those who want sanity and common sense, and no boys and girls sports and the whole transgender ideology. But you can see by this vote, there are still some strongholds in some deep blue school districts across the country that you got to be rooted out. But Fairfax County Public Schools, along with several other Northern Virginia districts, have been targeted by America First Legal, who filed a complaint challenging the district's transgender policies. So good for them. Thank you. Prompting the U.S. Department of Education Office for Civil Rights to investigate the district. So again, it's like they ignore what parents want, ignore the will of the people, and even the truth, Jake.
Yeah, this is the hubris, the arrogance, the audacity of these wokocrats who in essence are saying to the parents of America, look, we don't believe in your sovereign God. We don't believe in your sovereign rights. We believe in our brainwashing, and that will rule the day. And once again, to reiterate, it's great to see that there are literally many parents across the country rising up and speaking out. Things have been happening in Winneconne, Wisconsin, where the Winneconne School Board, where I used to teach, actually voted to allow boys pretending to be girls into the girls' locker room. And parents spoke out. Parents are getting involved, and parents are making a difference. And that's a micro example of the macro necessity for this to happen across this great country.
Well, Jake, let's go from Virginia over to California again, to the left coast, and talk about San Diego parents. And I think Tim Waltz, the guy that masquerades, tries to be the macho man. He pretends to be macho, but he would love this story. So tell us what's going on with it. I just don't get the tampon machines in the boys' bathrooms.
Well, I certainly don't, but I got to tell you, Look, you and I both used to live in California. I think you were up in the Hollywood, LA area. I used to live in San Diego, much more conservative county. But to see this happening in San Diego County, which is known historically for being more conservative because of the military base, Marines, Navy, etc. But I mean, this is something out of a Brave New World kind of stuff. This is beyond Orwell, right? This is Huxleyan. This is, I mean, just stop and think of this. These are 3rd to 4th and 5th graders that are actually being, to have tampon machines, probably a picture of smiling tampon Tim in the boys' bathroom, right? But no, it's just bizarre. It's absolutely, I always use this term Frankensteinian because this whole gender nonsense of boys can become girls and girls can become boys, and Supreme Court justice, they were saying what a first black woman in the Supreme Court, and yet she can't even define what a woman is. Think of this. This is, besides the manipulation of language, but it's the manipulation of our children. This is child abuse, that young kids can go into a bathroom and see a tampon and then somehow think that applies to a boy, to a male.
Yep.
That goes to show you how sick, how pagan, how pure pagan this ideology, this brainwashing is.
It's depraved and perverted, and it's purposely confusing young children who don't think about these things until they're older anyway. We've got a video to play, and we'll come right back and talk a little bit more about it.
Put this picture up on the board because this is from a parent that took this picture. His name is Phil Kendrow. He took the picture, and here it is,
What's
Carl. That is a tampon machine above a boys' urinal in a boys' bathroom in San Diego County in the Poway School District. And this
in an elementary school,
in an elementary school. And I just have to say, because this is a new law in California. It's called the Menstrual Act, right? The
Menstrual Equity Act.
Equity for All, Menstrual Equity for All Act of 2021. Where have we lost our minds?
We haven't, but the politicians in Sacramento have. And look, again, I always say that you got to pay attention to what's going on in California, because California is the petri dish for the left. They try out all these crazy policies here, and then very quickly they get exported nationwide. So you got all these elementary school kids going into a boys' bathroom, terribly confused, and this is completely a wasteful exercise.
Terribly confused. And by the way, Gavin Newsom, is he going to run for president with stuff like this? Menstrual Equity Act?
Well,
what the heck?
He may agree with it, but he won't tell you that now because he's starting to change. Theoretically, he's trying to be a moderate. When I moved to California back in the day, my dad, who was still alive at the time, right, said, young man, that's a bowl of granola cereal. That's full of fruit and nuts, because he was stationed in California before he went to fight the Japanese. But that was back in the day. But the point is, I mean, think of this. Parents are saying, they're actually standing up in San Diego and they're saying, are you kidding me? Well, what did one parent on X say? She says, boys don't bleed, and if they do, they need a Band-Aid, not a tampon. This is mental warfare aimed at your kids, subsidized by your tax dollars. And more parents, if this happens, get a hold of the ACLJ, Alliance Defense Fund. In Wisconsin, by the way, Wauwatosa Central High School, they're allowing boys to go in girls' locker room, and a number of parents are fighting, standing up through Title IX and suing through the DOE and the DOJ, and they're starting to win victories.
Yeah, we've talked about this for so long, Jake. You remove God in the biblical worldview and anything goes. That's what we're seeing now in America. But we've got much more to come on Educated. Stay with us.
Catch Freedom Project's lineup of shows daily at noon Central. Starting on Monday, we have Educated. On Tuesday, we have the Dr. Duke Show with Vicki McKenna. Wednesday continues with another episode of the Dr. Duke Show with Dr. Jake Jacobs. Thursday, we have One Nation. And Friday, we wrap up the week with another episode of Educated. Catch Freedom Project's lineup of shows daily at noon Central.
All right, Jake, we're going to Texas now for this one, from San Diego to Texas. What are we talking about over in Texas again?
Well, I'll tell you, this one's got me kind of puzzled. It's Texas private schools' use of an AI tutor. So at Alpha School in Austin, Texas, students are placed in the classroom for 2 hours a day with an AI assistant. So they use the rest of the day to focus on skills like public speaking, financial literacy, and teamwork. And this private school is seeing student test scores soar to new heights following the implementation. That's what they believe. There's a cause effect here with an AI tutor. So the Alpha School co-founder, Mackenzie Price, told Fox and Friends, "We use AI tutor and adaptive apps to provide completely personalized learning experience for all our students. And as a result, our students are learning faster. They're learning better. In fact, our classes are in the top 2%. We should hear from someone who built the new AI school system.
A Texas school is letting technology lead the way in the classroom as public school students across the country are struggling with reading and math. At the Alpha School in Austin, Texas, students are in the classroom for only 2 hours a day with an AI tutor, while using the rest of the day to focus on other skills like public speaking, financial literacy, and teamwork. And results show students testing in the top 2% of the country.
So we use an AI tutor and adaptive apps to provide a completely personalized learning experience for all of our students. And as a result, our students are learning faster. They're learning way better. In fact, our classes are in the top 2% in the country. And what's even better is the rest of the afternoons are spent doing life skill development, those real world skills that we need our young people to be equipped to go be successful at. So getting personalized learning is absolutely amazing, right, Elle?
100%. It's the best school in the world. I have a lot of friends at traditional school, and every day after school and during school, they're doing so much homework. They're spending all this time on schoolwork, and they're so stressed out and they're just miserable. You know, the infamous junior year is supposedly just the worst year of your life. But me and my friends at Alpha are kind of like, it's not so bad. You know, we get all of our academics done in just 3 hours a day. And then the rest of the day we get to spend doing what we love and working on passion projects. So for me, I'm creating a safe AI dating coach for teenagers, and it was recently just featured in the Wall Street Journal this recent weekend. I mean, what 16-year-old has time for that? So it's awesome.
So Jake, what she said at the very end, I want you to comment on, because whenever I mean, I'm sure this is doing some good things for these kids, but when you say personalized, that means you let AI know all about your life and everything about you to personalize it. But she said a safe code or whatever. So what do you think about that?
Well, I have to tell you, this is I was in the classroom. First time I stepped in the classroom wasn't too far away from where I'm speaking in my home studio here in Arizona, 1977. So I admit I'm a boomer, and AI is a new tool. I guess with anything, you'd want to be very cautious as far as the garbage, the potential garbage that goes in, it comes out. I just don't know enough. That's the part that got me when I talked about personalized. What does that mean? Obviously, there's a vested interest by these co-creators at this AI school system, and they're gonna sell it and plug it. If it's efficacious in a proper sense, okay. I just don't know enough, David, at this point.
Yeah, but I think whenever you've got something good, think about almost any kind of technological advancement that makes our lives easier or more convenient. There's always a downside when people start manipulating it and using it for evil. Whatever can be developed and used for good can be used for evil. So that's what concerns me, the invasion of privacy, the AI, having a little bit too much knowledge about every life, all the details of your life, and these kids, they think, wow, it's great, personalize it. Yeah, but I'm really hesitant to do that as a discerning believer, understanding we're in some very crazy days here with technology. But so $40,000 a year tuition is in that school, $40,000.
Yeah, that's a high school. So, I mean, boy, that's steep. I think Freedom Project Academy is the way to go myself.
Amen, brother. Well, so we are now going to head over to some Babylon Bee headlines to discuss after the break. Stay with us.
In 2024, we find ourselves at a pivotal moment where the call for unity, freedom, and a better future echoes louder than ever. Introducing Patriot Mobile, the wireless carrier that stands with you. We are committed to supporting the values that make our nation great. With affordable plans and reliable nationwide coverage, Patriot Mobile is not just a wireless service. It's a call to action for those who believe in the American dream.
Get free activation now with promo code EDUCATED.
All right, before we wrap things up, let's take a look at everyone's favorite satire site, the Babylon Bee.
Here are this week's top 5 Babylon Bee headlines.
Okay, so we've picked our favorite. I should say our producers have, because Jake and myself have not seen these headlines. So our responses will be authentic and in the moment. So we're going to just ask each one of you to vote and help us decide which one should be first place. Numero uno, Queen of the Hive. Let's start with this one. Hegseth kicking himself for not just getting 13 soldiers killed and giving $80 billion in weapons to terrorists. Number 2, dork journalist just happy to be included in group text for once. Number 3, security concerns as Trump holds strategy meeting at Cracker Barrel. Number 4, Democrats estimate there are only one more arson away from being popular again. And finally, number 5, State Farm now offering optional car torched by psychotic purple-haired weirdo coverage. So, Jake, that number 5 got the biggest laugh from you.
Yes, but look at number 1. When you think of it, it's amazing because, there was a screw up. And I'll tell you what, man, the legacy media, the Democrats, they're looking for any little thing they can get to blow it out of proportion and to make it, monstrosity of, craziness by the Trump administration. But really, when you think of what the incompetency of the commander-in-chief, Joe Biden, and his team, and for them to even dare to go there, that's why I think that one is the one that gets across the absurdity of the exaggeration by legacy media when it comes to what happened.
Well, there's so many of these that are good, and there's always a little bit of truth in some of these, but it's giving a shout out to the radical time we had in the Summer of Love in 2020 and the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation, which, there were dozens of people murdered, billions of dollars in damage in cities across the country, and arson and police precincts attacked. I'm going to go with number 4. Democrats estimate they're only one more arson away from being popular again. That's kind of funny and sad at the same time, Jake, because people will get hurt. They're jacking up. The rhetoric is amping up again, and they're torching Teslas. They're getting in conservatives and Republicans' faces. So, what are your thoughts on that in the last minute here or so?
Well, it's interesting. I think I wrote the book Mob Rule, the radical leftists at our doorstep. And in there, I discussed the militant, violent nature of leftism, Black Lives Matter, Marxism, what was happening across the country. And to think that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and the Democrats, the wokocrats, were actually behind this and talking about defunding the police. And we're not surprised that crime went through the roof in democratically controlled sanctuary cities, from Philadelphia, Chicago to Portland and Seattle. You're absolutely right. It's amazing here. We've been saying this, and while we're all excited about making America great again, we're all excited about Donald Trump's team and his executive actions. These people, by any means necessary, are hell-bent on destroying our heavenly values.
Yep.
They hate this republic. They hate our Republican form of government, and be very leery of them and pray for the protection of Donald Trump and his cabinet.
Yep, because there will be something else, another crisis, another blow up, another thing where they're working in unison across the country. I'm just waiting to see how they're going to roll this out, this next one. But that's going to wrap up our top headlines of the week. More satire next time. I just love the Babylon Bee. But anyway, just a reminder that we'll be back again Friday at noon Central doing another episode with the Dr. Jake Jacobs on Educated. So for Jake and myself, thanks for watching, listening, supporting what we do, for sharing. And until next time, stay educated.